Hello again, welcome to this tutorial about the Blackbox Airbus A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator X. This will be about the Cat 3B ILS approach in Vienna and an automatic landing. Right now we're cruising at 9,000 feet, a speed of 250 knots. We're on a radar vector towards the final approach course. In the flight plan we only have the runway 16 inserted. You could also enter the alternate flight plan here. For the nav aids I use Foxtrot Mike Delta and Whiskey Golf Mike VR. The ILS is already auto-tuned. Do not really need an NDB for this approach. Foxtrot Mike Delta I have entered on the progress page to have some additional distance information, and I'm now filling out the performance approach page with the weather from Vienna. QNH 1010, temperature 20 degrees, the wind from 150 degrees with 8 knots. For this approach we do not have a minimum, so it's important to enter no into the DH, decision height field. I'm using config full for the landing, and the missed approach altitude of this approach is 5,000 feet, which will enter the engine out acceleration field. Here we have a speed summary. Minimum clean speed today is at 205 knots, and our approach speed will be 123 knots. We also now use the secondary flight plan to program another runway. I'm arming auto brakes in low mode, so they are going to start to work about 4 seconds after touchdown. Let's check the pressurization page. We have automatically set 600 feet landing elevation, which is correct for Vienna. We have plenty of fuel and it's well balanced, and there is no status. We have quite an average landing weight of 60 tons. Getting cleared now to descend to 5,000 feet. I'm using vertical speed mode with 1,000 feet per minute to descend to 5,000 feet. It's also time to switch on the LS landing system presentation, which gives you localizer and glide slope scales. However, we do see that we have Foxtrot Mike Delta VOR inserted here, which is wrong and which does also not happen in real life, because there's always localizer frequency shown on the PFD. So let's check that later, and if the LS Oscar Kusulu isn't inserted automatically, we'll have to tune it manually. Now activating the approach phase. Normally there should be a confirm activate approach phase prompt, so you have to press it twice. What's happening is that if I now select manage speed after activating the approach phase, the managed speed will automatically move to minimum clean speed, 205 knots, and then further to S and F and approach speed according to the flap extension. Right now I'm maintaining a selected speed still of 250 knots. Increase that vertical speed a bit to 1,500 feet per minute. Now if I push the speed knob, the speed should reduce to minimum clean, but it doesn't. It's moving up to 340 knots, which is something that shouldn't happen actually. So let's check back to selected speed, activate the approach phase again, which is strange because we already had done this. Now try again. Okay, so this should be some simulator issue. We've now twice activated the approach phase, so the speed should move to minimum clean and not to 340 knots. So I'm just decelerating now with selected speed. Selecting 210 knots, which is above the minimum clean speed of 205. select the heading, which is closing us in on the localizer. Now we still see Foxtrot Mike Delta VOR shown on the PFD, which we don't want, so let's just manually tune the ILS frequency. It's 108.5 with an actual inbound course of 160. You have to be very sure to select the correct inbound course, because that's very important for Autoland. Now we're cleared for approach, so I'm pushing the approach button and I'm getting glide slope localizer modes armed. It's important not to forget to switch on the second autopilot, which gives us the Cat 3 dual landing capability that we need for this approach. For a Cat 3B approach with no minimum. We have captured the 5,000 feet, so the speed is reducing. Localizer intercept should happen shortly. Now it's there, localizer star mode. Airplane is now intercepting the localizer. Glide slope started to move as well, and speed is slowly reducing below VFE next, which is 230 knots for flaps 1. So let's set flaps 1 now as the speed is reducing through VFE next. And also selecting 180 knots now. Okay, we're on the localizer, shortly intercepting a glide slope. Glide slope star mode is active. We have already set the missed approach altitude at 5,000 feet. Let's try that approach phase again. Maybe managed speed is working now. Yes, it does. Now its speed target is moving to S speed. Glide slope mode is active. Speed is just 200 knots, which is exactly VFE next for flaps 2. So I'm briefly using the speed brakes to get the speed below VFE next. And then select flaps 2. Drag the speed brakes again. Now let's move those two displays down here. There we have a better view. Let's do the approach check now, which is comparing the altimeters, checking that the A thrust is in speed mode or off, but for the Autoland in speed mode of course, and that the minimum is set, which is no DH today. Speed is reducing to F speed. We're at 2,000 feet above ground now. Let's get the gear down. When the gear is down, arm the ground spoilers by pulling the speed brake lever up and switch on runway turn off and takeoff lights. All that's left to do now is select flaps 3 and then flaps full. At the outer marker, check the altitude and compare it with the altitude on the approach chart. Now flaps full are set and the landing memo shows the signs are on, cabin is ready, the gear is down, flaps are set and the spoilers are armed. So you're ready for landing. Be sure to be established in 1,000 feet above ground with the landing configuration set and on localizer, on glide slope and in trim.
1,000.
Now we have the 1,000 feet call. There's actually no approaching minimum and minimum calls because we have no minimum. What you have to do is watch the performance of the autoflight system and abort the approach if the Autoland warning light comes on, or if anything else is going seriously wrong. If it is, you could continue visually if you have the runway in sight, which is of course unlikely at the early stages of the approach. Now when the retard call comes, just retard the thrust levers to idle during the flare. Don't forget to select reverse thrust.
500.
And during the flare you should also check that the flare and rollout and retard modes become active. Latest at 350 feet land mode must be active, which is active now.
200. 100. 50.
Runways inside.
40,
Thrust idle
30,
mode is active and flare mode.
20.
With the retard call, retard the thrust levers.
10.
And after touchdown, make sure that the rollout mode is active, which it is now. Using reverse thrust. Monitoring the performance of braking and the rollout mode. Now it's deviating to the left, so I'm disconnecting the autopilot, correcting towards the center line manually. Reverse thrust off. And let's just take the next high-speed exit. I'm now taxiing clear of the runway before I do the after landing items, because it's a bit tricky to taxi and do them at the same time if you're alone in the cockpit. So let's just stop here for a moment. Do the after landing items. Disarm the ground spoilers, retract the flaps, set the weather radar to off, the TCAS to standby, switch off the strobe lights and the landing lights, and set the nose lights to taxi. Now everything from here on, the taxi in, is covered in my other tutorial about the ILS approach with manual landing. So we just conclude here. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and see you next time.